Hello and welcome to another podcast with me, Ben Lister. Hope you're well. Today's podcast is a podcast radio show with This Is the Curse, very own host, Patrick Billington. I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching. This is for episode 3 of the podcast radio show. It will go up on YouTube, so yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you for the wrap up. Here's the interview with Patrick Billington.
Let's go. Hello, everyone. It's 2021. We are still in lockdown, but welcome to another Ben Lister podcast radio show, episode 3. I'm here to cheer you up in this series. We have had a lot of big guests in the first 2 episodes, including Stephanie Hurst. And last time out, we had broadcaster Sean Goldsmith, but today it's the one, the only, from Viking FM and Yorkshire Coast, and now host of This Is the Curse. It's, of course, Paddy Billington. Hello, Paddy. Welcome along today.
Hi, Ben. Great to speak to you. You okay?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. Very good. Thank you. Yeah. Really enjoying life at the new radio station, This Is the Coast, which we launched in October. So we've been going for a good few months now, and it's just going really, really well. We've got so many people who are listening in, been supported by local advertisers as well. We've got a lot of local news on there, got a great sort of on-air news, news service, but also, online, got all the stories going out on the website and on social media as well. So it's all just going really, really amazingly.
Today, I will ask you 5 questions about broadcasting, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Fire away.
So you're ready to rumble in the jungle?
I am ready. I'm ready to rumble. Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Let's go. Question 1. Where did you start your broadcast career?
Right here, actually. Not right in this exact location, because I'm actually in my bedroom at the moment, which is where the new studio is for the breakfast show on This Is the Coast. But about a mile away at Yorkshire Coast Radio, when it used to be on Fallsgrave Road in Scarborough. So it launched in 1993. I was 12 years old. So for me, as someone that just got very excited when I read in the local newspaper that Scarborough was going to get its own radio station, that's what sort of got me doing the bedroom FM that we all do. Those of us who, grew up wanting to work on the radio. It was listening to this new radio station, just down the road from me, talking about the area, people like Greg Scott, Joel Ross, and people like that. And they just sound like they're having a lot of fun, sort of playing songs and just having a bit of a laugh and a giggle. And then it was Greg Scott, actually, who because I used to ring, as a sort of 12, 13-year-old child, I used to try and get on the radio every single evening and every single day whenever I could. I'd walk across town to the road shows and stuff, get car stickers and presenter photo cards and all that sort of stuff. Got all of that. I still got it all now. They even did a calendar, I remember, in 1994 that I remember just getting one of them and sticking it on my table at home in my bedroom. And it was Greg that said, well, if you're such a big fan of the radio, to come and have a look around. So my dad took me in one evening, had a look around the studio at Yorkshire Coast Radio. And when I think now back to what that studio was like, the studio itself was all right. There was a second studio, which was like a little cupboard, and it was baking hot in there. And it's not what you would call, the best broadcast facilities. But for me as a 13-year-old, it was just amazing. And it just made me want to work on the radio after that. And in fact, a few years later, when I was 18, I did a demo at college. They had a little studio there, and I was doing a media course. I sent a demo off to Chris Sigsworth, who a lot of people will know as being the guy that was at Yorkshire Coast Radio from day one on the 7th of November 1993 until it sort of got replaced by Greatest Hits Radio, and everything became network from elsewhere late last year. So, getting on the best part of 30 years, really. So he just become the program controller at Yorkshire Coast Radio, taking over from Jerry Scott, the late Jerry Scott. And so I sent a demo in, and he said he liked something in it. I still don't know what it was because it was awful. But he gave me like a weekly show on a Sunday night. It was like a chart show, 6 till 7, and then just whatever really after that. And that was kind of where I sort of practiced and and learn. But when I listen back to mini discs, which I've got, from then, I recorded bits on mini disc, and it was truly awful. So I don't know how he kept faith with me, but that's where I started. Yorkshire Coast Radio was there for a few years, and then I've worked all sorts of different places since then as well.
Yeah, it's good. Was that Joel Ross from the double act JK and Joel, I believe, who worked at
That's right. Yeah. I think he was only 16 or something like that when he started at Yorkshire Coast. So he was there for a couple of years before moving to Viking FM, I think. So yeah, it was great. It was a great feeling to start presenting at Yorkshire Coast Radio. I remember the first thing I ever did was going at lunchtime and just press play on the songs for an hour on the number one radio show. And I was pretty nervous, and I felt like, king of the world after that. And all I've been doing is pressing play on a few songs. It felt amazing to be there. So it was a dream come true. I was there for about 4.5 years. In fact, when Yorkshire Coast Radio launched a sort of a separate station in Bridlington, like a satellite station in Bridlington, also called Yorkshire Coast Radio, I started working there, and that was the first time I started doing regular daytime work. That's when it became my main job. Doing afternoons and then breakfast at Yorkshire Coast Radio in Bridlington. I remember doing the breakfast show on my 21st birthday there, and I got exactly 21 birthday cards from listeners, which was nice. I remember that, and it was exactly the same amount of birthday cards as my age, and quite possibly the same amount of people who were actually listening. But no, it was great. I enjoyed that because the old studios in Bridlington were on the harbour side, and there wasn't even a road in front. You were 3 floors up. It's someone's flat now, I believe. It was above the Harbour Museum, and it was just an incredible view. All you could see was the harbour boats and the South Beach in Brid, and that has got to be the greatest view I've ever had from any radio studio. So that was great. And then I ended up going to Real Radio in Wales, which is a bit weird, I know. But when you're in your early 20s, you are ambitious, and I wanted to work on bigger stations. And just kind of progress and all that. And an opportunity to come up there. It was a big regional station, and I really enjoyed it there. Actually, I was there for a year or so, doing weekends, the sports show. I remember the first night first show I did, I was trying to pronounce some Welsh place name, and someone rang up and swore down the phone at me, told me I'd pronounced it all wrong and just go back home to England. We don't want you, kind of thing. But actually, I really enjoyed my time down there, doing the sports show and doing sort of overnight shows on a weekend and doing cover during the week and all that. It was a big station with some big broadcasters and felt really good. And I loved South Wales as well. Loved getting out and about there. After that, moved back up north. I mean, I never actually left Scarborough, weirdly, because I was doing weekends in Cardiff. I actually drove down on a Friday and came back on a Sunday or a Monday, and then would stay down there for a few weeks at a time if I was doing cover. So I never actually left Scarborough. Came up north to TFM when it was EMAP. Did evenings there and other shows before moving to Viking. No, there was a gap, wasn't there? Actually, I've worked all over, Ben. Huddersfield for a year, what was then Home FM with John Harding. I've done the network evening show when it was TLRC, the local radio company. I did that from Minster across 26, 27 stations. That was great. Apart from when something went wrong, you'd have someone calling you on the Isle of Wight saying you've gone off air or there's been a big accident, what's going on? And I was at Minster in York, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't really know. So you spent most of your time ringing program controllers from different radio stations around the country saying, I'm really sorry, but you've gone off air, or there's something kicked off in your patch and I don't know what it was. So yeah, just did all sorts, and you'll I know you know me from my Viking FM days. I was there for about 6 years until 2013 before coming back home. It was a proper homecoming back to Yorkshire Coast Radio to do the breakfast show as Paddy in the morning, starting in early 2013.
You've had a great career, and that's a good story for your career.
It's been lots of fun. It's been brilliant. So, like many people who've worked in radio, I've been given some great opportunities. I've also been, sort of fired so many times as well. I've lost jobs I've really enjoyed. I've had program controllers come in and have a chat with me, saying, look, I'm not going to change anything. We really like you. And then a week later, they change everything. and just say, well, that's just radio, isn't it? That's how it works, kind of thing. I've had all of that, like so many of us have had. And you've just got to take the good with the bad. And over the years, so many incredible presenters have actually sadly left the business because there have been less and less opportunities in radio compared to how they used to be. Because of course, in the earlier days, there wasn't the automation that you've got now. You kind of had to have people. You had to have people there 24/7 just to keep the radio station on air. And then with the birth of automation and voice tracking and people able to record shows and from the remote locations and networking and all that, so many people have left the industry. So I'm actually incredibly lucky. I started in when I was aged 18. I'm now 39. I'll be 40 in April. So, getting on towards 22 years, and I'm still doing what I love, and I'm doing it in the area that I love. And talk about doing it from home. I'm literally doing the breakfast show from home now, from my bedroom. I've converted half of it into a radio studio, which is where I am right now. So I am extremely lucky to still be doing this, because I know a lot of people have sadly had to leave the industry.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who have had to leave the industry, like some ex-Viking presenters, and some are incredibly lucky to stay on because, as you know, this radio is an intense game. The best way for people to start out is now community radio, because hospital radio may become extinct as well. Community radio is the best way to start out because, as you know, I'm doing it like this.
Yeah, community stations are fantastic. They're brilliant. We've got a couple around here. Coast and County Radio, Radio Scarborough. That what they can do is, that they've got volunteers who can do specialist shows, and all that. Obviously, commercial radio stations, will focus on making sure that we're playing the songs that people know and sing along to. You've got to be aware of your commercial responsibilities. We have to make money as a business, and we need the advertising in, and that of course relies on listener numbers. So we're making radio that we're hoping that a lot of people along the Yorkshire coast are going to enjoy and listen to. Community stations have the freedom to do more specialist shows and be a bit more niche, and that's great. Actually, the choice around here, as it is for many places now, is huge. For example, here in Scarborough, you've got community stations. You've got what was Yorkshire Coast Radio, now Greatest Hits Radio, run by Bauer, with still a local news service, but national presenters, shows coming from elsewhere. What we're doing here, that no one else is doing is, well, we like to think that we're bringing proper local radio back to the Yorkshire coast by having presenters who are local doing shows that are local. We're expecting another Beast from the East next week. What we can do that no one else can is, if the weather's really bad and it's causing problems, if I know schools are closed, but there's still plenty of children still going to school, people still going to work, we can just transform our entire output to covering, what's going on locally. We've got the resources, we've got the news service, which is headed up by Matthew Pells. He's sort of running all of that. We've got the news, we've got the travel information. We're all here in the area, so we can do all that. But from a listener's point of view, massive choice now, more than ever before, really. So from a listener's point of view, it's good. It's just, when you're working in radio, it's just changing so fast, isn't it? It is hard to keep up, hard to stay in the game sometimes as well.
Yeah, also this COVID has made or breaked people's career as well.
Yes, well, absolutely. I was at Yorkshire Coast Radio still when the first lockdown came in, and it was strange, really, just how the radio station changed. It really did become, well, it became two things more than anything else. Back in sort of March and April and May and onwards last year. It became a really vital source of information for people locally. We got a lot of interviews on with the local council. People were scared as well. People were really scared back then. I know that for a fact because people would ring me and say, and they would just, and they did this to a lot of people in radio, I know, they would just ring you out of the blue, and they'd never spoken to you before, and they just said, thank you. You know, not only are you giving us local information, but you're still entertaining, you're still doing the competitions, you're still giving away money, you're still having a laugh and a giggle and talking about silly stuff in the news. You know, people really like that. They actually felt nervous and apprehensive, and I think we all did really. And so I think local radio really came into its own. Certainly, you know, in the early days of that first lockdown, it was amazing. You know, we we stopped getting audience figures because they stopped surveying people because of COVID and all that. But the digital figures that we could get, you know, the amount of people on our website, the amount of people listening to us digitally on the smartphone app and online, I mean, it absolutely went through the roof. And I'm sure it was the same for a lot of other stations as well. So, you know, local radio really, you know, came into its own and still is during the pandemic. I mean, from a personal point of view, like many people, it's been a massive struggle for me financially. I mean, I did lose my full-time job, and you know, we have started again, but it's not just a case of, you know, everything's just as it was. You know, we are creating a new business during a pandemic, and it is difficult. We're getting incredible support from listeners and local businesses, but we have this, I mean, we've you know, there's a few of us who are part of this who are directors of this new radio station, and we've created a new radio station. We wanted to do it properly. We wanted to get on DAB for a start. The costs for that are astronomical. You know, having a local news service, all the stuff that we know people wanted when the previous station I worked for, you know, effectively disappeared. The people were telling us they wanted us to create a new radio station, and they told us exactly what they wanted. We knew what they wanted, and we, you know, but the cost of doing that was absolutely huge. So, and from a personal point of view as well, I was doing discos. I was doing discos every weekend, you know, wedding discos, children's parties, all that's gone. I also run a tourism website, you know, which called Visit Scarborough, and now people are not allowed to visit Scarborough. So, like many people, you know, I've taken a hit on a lot of stuff, but you know, we just got to keep going, haven't we? We've all got to keep going and hope that better times are around the corner.
I recently saw a podcast about Scarborough. I'm not sure who it was, but they interviewed Darren Leatham about the Cricket Palladium.
Yeah, well, that was me actually. That is my podcast. So that's new. It's called the Visit Scarborough podcast. Yeah, Darren's a big fan of Scarborough, and I know he's been on your podcast. He's a big fan of the Cricket Festival, and so he recorded that for me, a little thing about memories of the Cricket Festival as well. So we lay the red carpet out when Darren comes to Scarborough. Obviously, he's not able to at the moment, but hopefully he will again soon. But yeah, that's, you see, I can't actually ask people to visit.
Hello? You got...
So yeah, I think you're asking me about the Visit Scarborough website, weren't you?
Yeah.
Or the podcast? Yeah. Yeah, the Visit Scarborough podcast is mine, and Darren Leatham, I've known for years. Great friend of mine, big fan of Scarborough, and I know he loves the Cricket Festival, so he recorded that for me. People are not allowed to visit Scarborough, despite the name of the website, which is visitscarborough.com. So, you know, I just thought it's a nice little idea. I've got the equipment to make a podcast, and it's a way of bringing Scarborough to people elsewhere. You know, giving them a flavour of Scarborough, reminding them of what's waiting for them when they're allowed to come back, and then just a nice way to promote the town, really, the place I love sharing it with the world. And hopefully when people are allowed to return, that podcast will. So it's just another thing that I'm doing at the minute.
Yeah, I normally come to Scarborough sometimes. I was watching the comedy Scarborough recently.
Yeah. Which was great. It's a shame that only got one series, because that could have been great if that had taken off, if people had really got into watching that, because the views of Scarborough, the drone shots were just amazing. It looked absolutely fantastic. Darren Litton's,
and it had a cameo from a good friend of mine who works for BBC Look North, Mr. Levy.
Yeah, Peter Levy. He was really funny in that. And I went to the premiere of that and saw Peter Levy interviewing Darren Litton as well. So that was good. That was really good actually. So
Yeah, that's good. Question 2. Who were your inspirations in broadcasting growing up?
yeah, I mean, I mentioned a little earlier on people like Greg Scott and Joel Ross at Yorkshire Coast Radio, just sort of from a listening point of view. Obviously, Chris Sigsworth, who was there for such a long time at Yorkshire Coast Radio, gave me my first opportunity. I used to enjoy listening to people like Martin Kellner, on the BBC late night show across Yorkshire back in the day. Stephanie Hurst. I used to listen to Galaxy. Lots of people. There's plenty of great broadcasters out there. I like people who know what they're talking about. And just have a bit of fun. People who are down to earth, real people, people who are just genuine, real people who like to sort of let you in on their life. I do like people like that.
One of my favourite heroes is, however, as I say, Terry Wogan.
Yeah.
Michael Parkinson, and of course Tony Blackburn as well.
Yes, I met Tony Blackburn once, and he still has that sort of traditional radio presenter style that often in radio you get told not to be cheesy and all that. Well, Tony Blackburn, he's been doing it for such a long time, and he's you just got to take your hat off to people like Tony, who's been broadcasting for such a long time. He's a really, really nice guy as well. He's done some funny lockdown videos as well, and he's one of them people that sort of managed to come back into fashion. You know what I mean? He's one of them people that was a huge star back in the day, and has always managed to keep plugging away. He used to follow me on Real Radio as well. He used to do sort of the Real Party Night and all that. And I remember him sort of saying, here's a great song. This is what I call Special Diesel. I remember him saying that. And I if I'd have said that on the radio, it just wouldn't have suited my style. I'd have got shot down for it. Paddy, why are you being so cheesy? But that was his style, and he's that's him. And he's now back on national radio and really, really popular and really knows his stuff and all that. So you've got to take your hat off to people like that who've been in for decade after decade after decade and are still at the very top of their game and still really popular with people.
If ever I met him, to be honest, I'd just want to give Tony Blackburn a great big hug if I met him.
Yeah, not just yet, though.
Not allowed yet, due to the current, what's going on in the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
Question 3. What is your favourite part about the job?
Probably the bit that I can't do at the moment, which is getting out and about, actually. I love hosting events, love sort of meeting people, recording stuff with people to get them on the show, visiting schools, always done that as well, recording stuff at Christmas time. You get a real buzz from all of that. It's that community interaction that I love. And you can still, of course, get it. But it is different working from home. Everything is virtual, the interviews, and I've got people on every day, local people on the radio every day, every morning, but it's all via Zoom and, Facebook Messenger calls and all that sort of stuff. It is that sort of out and about community stuff. I really enjoy covering news stories as well, big weather events, big news stories, covering it, that sort of stuff, it excites me. And it's exciting to sort of cover stories like that and get them on the radio, get them online, get them on social media. I do enjoy that, and I know a lot of people say it, but the intimacy of local radio, just how intimate it is. It's a very special medium. I really love listening to radio. I don't watch much TV. I love listening to radio, whether it's during the day or in the evening. I like the radio. And I love that. I just love the. It's just a very special medium, as you know.
Yeah, I listen to radio because I loved Yorkshire Coast back in the day in 2013 because I used to listen to it when I was on the way out of Bridge to Filey sometimes.
Yeah.
And radio used to entice me in the journey, you see. It used to help me along the journey.
Yeah. For me, wherever I've worked, it's easy for me here because I absolutely love this stretch of coastline. I am so passionate about it. That's why I do the Visit Scarborough website, and I like sharing this area with the rest of the world. And I love doing the radio show. But wherever I've worked, I've always tried to just talk about the area. So even in South Wales, which I didn't know very well, I got out and I met people, and I got to know places so I could talk about, living a life in that area. That's the special thing about local radio. I do love that, just that mixture of music and a bit of chat, and just just sort of waxing lyrical about the area that you're in, and just reflecting life in that area. What are people talking about? What are people doing? What is on their mind? There's a lot of things that are the same issues for people here as they are 200 miles away, but there's so many things that are actually just issues for this area, and it's making sure that you are talking about those issues and reflecting people's opinions as well. That's what I really love about it.
Yeah, one of my good friends comes up to Scarborough, and he has friends over there, and he sometimes likes the Newcastle Packet pub.
Yeah, which has been there a long time. That pub is one of the older pubs right on the harbour side, so it's a popular place.
Where's the pub that the TV show Scarborough was from? Because I've always wondered that, to be honest.
Well, it's the exact same one that you mentioned. It's the Newcastle Packet that was. They filmed the scenes outside the pub, but the inside was actually, I think, filmed elsewhere. So they never filmed inside the pub. That was probably a TV set in Manchester or somewhere. But it was the Newcastle Packet. It was meant to be the Newcastle Packet anyway, which they changed the name of. I can't remember the name of the
Good Ship.
The Good Ship. Yep, that's what they changed the name to.
I've been watching it recently in lockdown.
Yeah. So that's the Newcastle Packet.
It's a shame it never got the viewing figures, because I wanted a second series.
Yeah, that would have been good.
And I loved the Peter Levy cameo at the end of the series, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, that was funny. That was really good.
I don't know if you've ever met Peter Levy.
I have.
Yes. I've interviewed him, obviously.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he was very good on there as well on your podcast. I heard that. And he did well on the TV as well. But he's had a bit of TV exposure over the years, hasn't he? So he'd be all right at that.
Question 4. How has COVID affected your life and line of work?
Yeah, well, we touched on this earlier, didn't we? It's been a massive struggle financially, first and foremost, because I was doing a lot of discos, wedding discos, birthday parties, running the Visit Scarborough website, so obviously not done any real gigs at all, and I had quite a lot booked in, really. But the big lesson I learned was that when people pay you a deposit, don't spend it, or if they pay in full, don't spend it. But I always needed the money, you see. But you would never have thought, no one would have thought that this sort of thing would happen for so long. So that one lesson I really have learned is just making sure that I don't get too carried away with that, because it has been difficult. I mean, a lot of discos were rescheduled from sort of April and May last year to kind of April, May this year. So it's looking less and less likely that those are going to happen. And then again, it's going to be another headache, because there's so many events this year that effectively I'll be doing for free, because if they have been paid for last year, they've been moved to this year, which means I can't get any new bookings in this year. There's been, I've had to give people refunds, a lot of refunds as well. And it's difficult for people whose weddings obviously are being postponed and cancelled. It's their best day of their life, and it's the last thing they expect or want to happen. And so it's difficult for everyone. It really is difficult for everyone. So hopefully at some point soon, with the vaccine and all that, we're going to get some clarity on when people can start socializing together, and when entertainers, musicians, DJs, whoever it is, can get back doing what they do. Because again, like radio, I know a lot of people in the hospitality industry and suppliers to weddings and all. They've just gone out of business. They've just given it up. They've given it up. I got some new equipment on finance just before lockdown, so I've actually been paying to not be working. It's actually been costing me money rather than making anything at all. Can't do online discos. Tried to do some early in lockdown free ones just to keep people going, and that worked. But unfortunately now, the social media, the social networks have really come down strong on playing music online. So you just can't do it now. So I can't do any of that. I can't do online stuff like some people can. So yeah, it's been tough. One of the reasons that was given for the radio station where I worked being networked was COVID as well. So I did lose my full-time job as well, and starting a new radio station during the pandemic is not easy. And so we've been massively, it's been incredible, the support of listeners and advertisers who've been supporting us. Starting up the new radio station, we actually launched a GoFundMe page saying, look, we would really like to do this radio station, but if you want us to do it properly, we literally don't have the funds. So can you help us? And we got our £10,000 target within 48 hours, which was mind blowing. It meant we can actually set up, get the DAB, ball rolling as well, and that was incredible. So the support has been amazing. But it is tough. It's gonna take a while for a lot of people to get back to any sort of sense of normality. I think a lot of us have had to make serious lifestyle changes to just to be able to keep going, really. I know, and I certainly have.
Yeah, also it's good that you are still working through the COVID, and it's a shame really, but it's inevitable that your old station has become networked. It's inevitable now because these things are becoming networked, because Bauer and Global are big corporations, and these things are getting sucked up by big corporations, and it's disappointing, but that's just the way of the world at the moment with the COVID. They're taking advantage of the COVID.
What I do say to people about the networking is, they bought Bauer bought the business. They bought the company, and as they own the company, they can do whatever they want. We've got to remember that they can do whatever they want, and it is a business at the end of the day as well, and it needs to make money. So that's what they decided to do, and then every right to do that as well. Personally, I was really, really enjoying working at not just a very successful radio station, but the radio station that survey after survey was number one in England as having the highest reach of any station in England, which meant that the amount of listeners we had was huge. It was I think we got up to 54% reach, which was just unheard of anywhere really. That was the peak, but it was regularly in the 50s and late 40s, which was just amazing. But it's that success, and it's the impact that station had on this area that made people say, we were given the idea to set up this new radio station. That's the thing. I honestly never gave it a thought really. I just thought I'm gonna have to do something else. I don't know what. We're in a lockdown, we're in a pandemic. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to have to do something completely different. I was really stumped. I never really thought about setting up a new radio station. And it was literally message after message after message from people around here saying, can't you set up your own radio station? If you had a fundraising page, we'd donate some money. Can't you just do it? Can't you just do it? We need a local radio station, and that's what it was. Didn't realize the costs of it all and just how big a task it would be. But we got an amazing team. This is the Coast. Matthew Pells, Emma Smith, commercial director. We've got Natalie working in sales as well, in advertising. We've got Tom Hooper, who's brilliant. He does the afternoon show, and he does so much more behind the scenes as well. He just knows so much about setting up a radio station and music scheduling and all this sort of stuff. We've got some brilliant presenters as well, like Kev Roberts and Mike Nicholson. And we've got Andrew Snaith, the Whitby lad, who's doing some news for us on a weekend. We all have sort of different skills that we bring, and it is working. But it was people's thirst for a proper local radio station that gave us the confidence to do it.
Are they volunteers or ex-Yorkshire Curse presenters?
Say again, have we got any volunteers? Did you say?
Does your station have any volunteers or ex-Yorkshire Curse or a mixture?
Everyone who's working for This Is the Coast did previously work for Yorkshire Coast. Everyone did. I mean, there were some of us who were staff who obviously were made redundant, some who were freelance. But yes, all have had previous experience there. Yeah. And we do get asked from people who say, "Oh, can we help? We'd like to volunteer." We're all working from home at the moment, so it's difficult. Whereas at previous stations with actual physical premises, you can get some support and help and have people shadowing you and doing this and that. Obviously, we're all working from home, so it's impossible really to get that extra help in terms of volunteers and stuff like that. We've all invested in equipment and turning our homes into studios and little mini radio stations. It's working as it is at the moment. It's working.
Yeah, it's a good formula, and this lockdown's a 50-50 for you. Because on one hand, you don't work in this proper studio anymore, but on one hand, you've got your own station.
Yeah, and it would be great to have a premises one day, because I think it's brilliant. If a radio station has a premises and people can see that you're there in the middle of town, and they can walk in off the street, they can get car stickers, they can sort of wave to you through the studio window. All that is brilliant, but times really have changed now. Times have changed. How many people will go back to a normal job? How many people will actually just carry on working from home and just having virtual meetings and all that? I'm really not sure, even if when we're allowed to, when we're able to, or even if we had enough money to, will we need to do that? I am passionate about being out and about in the area, and nothing will stop me doing that apart from a pandemic. I will get out and about to the opening of an envelope, as people sometimes say I do. I'll do all that, and I'll do the charity fundraising stuff that I've always done. I will do all of that. But actually, do we need to actually have a studio we're working all together now that we've invested in this equipment? Now that if you listen to This Is the Coast, you wouldn't be able to tell that everyone's broadcasting from separate locations and from home. That is the nature of the technology these days, and that has saved considerable amount of money, which has managed to keep this station going and growing and moving in the right direction.
What advice would you give to young aspiring broadcasters?
People always say that it's getting harder and harder to get into to radio and broadcasting, and I just think it's changing. How you do it is changing. So I always try not to say, oh, it's getting harder and harder, it's impossible now, don't bother, because there's just less jobs. It is true that a lot of radio people have moved out of the industry because they've lost jobs. There are less jobs than there were. But having said that, there are now more and more stations popping up. So I think it is a brilliant time to get into radio, because most areas now have community stations and they're run by volunteers. And you can just get in touch with them and say, I would like to be involved. And the chances are that you will be able to get yourself on air in some form or another. It might only be one show a week or something, but if you just get in touch, learn how the mixing desk works, the microphone, listen to the radio as well. It's not about imitating people, but it's about, when I first started, I was saying, this is Yorkshire Coast Radio. I thought I had to put on a voice and all that. It took me so long to realize that actually you just need to sound natural. You need to project your voice. You can't just sort of talk like this and all that, because it just doesn't. You do need to project your voice to a certain extent, but just listen and practice and use those studios, those spare studios if they're there, to record yourself, listen back to yourself, get people's opinions, accept any criticism you get, and just try and get yourself on air somewhere, if you can, depending on what you want to do, of course. But there are opportunities now. There are opportunities. I mean, even there are people now who get given jobs on radio on big national stations, and they've been pulled out from the podcast world. Anyone can do a podcast, and if you do a podcast and get used to talking and that does well and all that, I mean, you could end up sort of replicating that on a big radio station. So there are all sorts of new ways now to get into the radio industry and get into broadcasting, and if people are interested in TV, it might not be just making the tea and the coffees for 6 months and trying to work your way in. It might just be, and it most likely is actually, you making videos and getting a following and getting noticed. And then you're already doing it then. People, will then just want you to do it just for a TV station or radio or whatever. So there are more, I mean, there are more opportunities now than ever before to actually get in. It's just that because anyone can do stuff, obviously there's a lot of people now. It's managing to sort of fight your way through it all, isn't it? That's the difficulty, but the opportunity is there.
You never know what big wigs and people at the top are listening to, which stations they're listening to, because they could be listening to this if it's going out on air right now.
Yeah,
they could be,
absolutely.
And then they could review.
That's what you've got to think. Yeah, if you are, if you are on the radio, you might feel like I might feel that when I do my first link at sort of 6:10 in the morning, and it's miserable and wet and cold outside, and you think, well, I've just got out of bed not long ago, and I'm sitting at my desk here, and I'm thinking, is there anyone out there listening? Is there anyone out there listening? The amount of times I've actually had calls from people, big names in the industry over the years, saying, oh, by the way, I heard you this morning at 7:20. I was just, passing through the area. I heard a couple of your links this morning, and I thought this, I thought that, and maybe we should have a chat. When you are broadcasting, anyone, anywhere can listen from, literally anyone and anywhere. So you've always got to remember that as well. That time you open that microphone, anyone could be listening anywhere, and that what you say could open a door to a great opportunity. You have got to remember that without it putting you off. But that is how people get opportunities.
And it could also slam the door shut. It's a make or breaker.
Yes, I suppose so. I suppose it could, really, yeah. I mean, someone could listen and think, no, I'm not interested in them at all. I think you just got to focus on just enjoying what you do, enjoy. I love this job, doing the breakfast show here, because this is the area I love. I love covering local news stories here. I love traveling up and down the coast in normal times, covering stories, meeting people, just, being proud and passionate of this area. The radio, doing the breakfast show, it's a great opportunity to do that and to just have a laugh with people and just put a smile on people's faces on a morning, and be people's company. People are still ringing up saying, just thanks for being there. Thanks for being our company. People have gone out and bought DAB plus radio so they can listen to us. People are doing all of that. People are going out their way to be able to listen to this new station, and that means a lot. That means a lot. And I like that. I have actually had opportunities to work at bigger stations, and turned it down because, and for different reasons, really. But when someone just says, "Oh, it's an opportunity," it's a foot in the door. It could lead to this. It could lead to that. And I just think, but will I be happier? Could I be any happier than what I'm doing now? And I'm just really happy here. Really happy here. To me, it is the perfect radio job. So why would I need to be on a much bigger station where I'm not able to make that radio that I love making because I can't hammer on about my area all the time, which is what I want to do.
That's it for today. Thank you very much, Paddy, for joining us here on Hull Kingston Radio.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Join us again soon for special guest Lucy Clark, but for now, please give it up for Paddy Billington. Thank you very much for watching. That's a wrap.
That was my interview with Patrick Billington. Hope you enjoyed it. My next guest to be uploaded is the lovely from Radio Humberside, the lovely Lucy Clark. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like, subscribe this video, and I hope you watch some more when you can. Be out, and that's a wrap.